It is Locked On NBA Game Night for the night of Tuesday, February 11th. Karl-Anthony Towns and Josh Hart lead the Knicks past the Pacers. Kevin Durant joins an exclusive club, but he does it in a loss. Plus, Joel Embiid may have cost the Sixers a much-needed win.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night in 30 minutes. Wes Goldberg here with Tony East. However, you might be tuning in on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Have a great show for you today. Joel Embiid may have cost the 76ers a much-needed win, and the Bulls finally get serious about tanking. But we're going to start, Tony, in your city, Indiana, where the Knicks beat the Pacers 128-115. This game was close for a while, and the Knicks pull away. You were there. What happened?
Oh, man. The Pacers could not guard the Knicks at all. And this is what I like about the Knicks to an extent this season is their offense is really good, but it's not always the same good every night. Like some nights it's Jalen Brunson's cooking. Some nights it's his two-man game with Cat that looks awesome. Sometimes it's just Cat is cooking like it was today. Sometimes they're really good on the glass and they can score in that way. Like they just aren't, they have a lot of different ways to punch, which makes them really good. And so in this game, Jalen Brunson, major foul trouble. He got his fifth foul super early in the third quarter. He only had 8 points. Like if you told the Pacers that before the game, they would have gone, yeah, all right, we're going to beat the Knicks again. We're going to win the season series. Maybe we'll have a shot at the 3 seed. And instead, Cat goes crazy. 40 points for Towns. He was beasting everybody. No Miles Turner, so he just kicked Thomas Bryant's butt down low. He kicked Obi Toppin's butt down low. He made a bunch of threes. Like he was totally unstoppable. He was awesome on the glass. The Knicks in general were awesome on the glass. And Josh Hart had 30 points. Let me say that again. Josh Hart had 30 points. I think 20 plus of them were just 2 inches from the basket. He would just cut, grab it, and score or beast right through somebody physically. I mean, the Knicks were just, to use a Rick Carlisle phrase, they played with more force. They hit harder on the glass. They weren't afraid of the physicality. They got to their sets in ways that got them shots close to the rim. And this looked like the Pacers defense that most people think of when they think of the Pacers defense. Too weak, too slow, can't rotate, can't stop anything. They've been better on defense the last 2 months, but once again exposed today by the Knicks, and they got throttled for it. They deserved it. They played awful.
Yeah, the defense was a big problem, but I don't really know what else they could have done. Karl-Anthony Towns is just bigger, better than a lot of their guys, and without Miles Turner in this game, starting Thomas Bryant, they just didn't have really any options. The thing with Cat this year is he's playing so much more physically. He's really sort of embraced like that Knicksy kind of thing. A little bit of Josh Hart seems to have rubbed off on him, and he's really kind of getting into it at the rim and on his drives and things like that. The one thing I couldn't figure out with Indiana is it felt like they left a lot of points on the board in this game. It felt like not even just from a shooting perspective, they went 9 for 31 in this game, so that was definitely part of it from 3-point range. But it felt like sometimes they would go to the pick and roll, drag Cat into that pick and roll, and it would work, whether it was with Nembhard or Tyrese Halliburton or whatever, and they would kind of get Jalen Brunson and Cat in that two-man game, and they would kind of get what they want, and then they would just go away from it for long stretches, and I kind of felt like they kind of got away from the game plan a little bit.
They've had a problem recently where they're not as connected on offense, which is just like lazy speak when a team is playing bad, right, I think, but to me, what stands out in those kind of moments is like they get off the ball too quick, right? Like you're right that they would get the right guys in the action and they would attack. And then instead of getting all the way to the rim or getting into the paint and actually making the Knicks defense work, because the Knicks, very un-Tibbsy, are like slightly below average on defense, right? Like you can beat them in that way. And even a lot of people at the game or covering the game wherever from the Pacers side are like, man, this Knicks defense doesn't look that good. But, Tyrese Halliburton or Nembhard or whoever would get to the elbow or one step in and for some reason just try to get it out too quick before the rotation actually got to them. Like I get what they're reading. They're reading that they're about to be cut off at the rim or like 2 guys are coming their way, get it to the open man. Like I get what they're thinking, but they're doing it too fast. And then the ball doesn't come back to them or they don't get back into the thing that was previously going to generate something. And so that like games like that, Siakam always looks awesome, right? Because he doesn't need that kind of setup to get going. And he had 24 points on 18 shots and was the most reliable threat. Ben Mathurin looks great in that type of game because he's going to get to the foul line a bunch and find his matchups. He had 18 points on 10 shots, right? And that makes sense. Like they have ways to score in those moments, but it's not as free-flowing, quick, the Pacers everybody saw last year, right? And the Knicks deserve a lot of credit for being ready for a lot of that stuff, but it's not like they defended so well. The Pacers just kind of beat themselves, and they've been playing like this for this month of February. All 6 games they've played, they've looked kind of flimsy and pulled out 2 or 3 miracle wins. So, unless they were going to actually start playing better, they changed their starting 5. They did a lot of stuff. Like the Knicks were just better. Like there's not a lot to say when Cat and Josh Hart are that good. Deuce McBride was awesome. He was plus 25 in this game. Like they just got beat. And if the Pacers are going to keep trying to prove that they belong in that upper echelon in the East, right? They have beaten New York and Boston and Cleveland this year. They've got to put together some good wins like this, even when they're playing bad, and they couldn't shake out of it. The Knicks had their number for a reason, and the Knicks are very good. That's not like the worst thing ever, but if you slow Brunson down, it should be a competitive game, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and I do kind of want to have that conversation. Like, let's zoom out on the Pacers here. I feel bad. We're like ignoring the Knicks took care of business. They won the game. Great for Cat. Great for Hart. They did a good job. But you're the Pacers guy. They at times look like they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They do beat good teams, right? They've beaten the Knicks before. Like that's kind of their MO is we kind of beat good teams, but we also lose some games that we probably should be winning. They're clearly a notch below Boston, Cleveland, and I think the Knicks. Like what has to happen? What do they have to do to kind of move up into that next tier in the Eastern Conference?
It's hard to say like with any certainty. Early in the season when they were pretty bad, they won 10 of their first 25 games. They were like barely clinging to play in life. Felt like so many games I would say, they didn't have the best player on the floor in that game, right? And in some, like no one thinks Pascal Siakam is better than Karl Towns. Like people think Pascal Siakam's very good, but Towns is better. But like Haliburton has the potential to be, the best of all of those guys or the best of anybody in this game. And, for them to really climb up, he's got to reach a higher level than what he's been this season. I mean, it's not even a hard argument to make. In fact, I bet Tyrese Haliburton would make the argument that this is his worst full season with the Pacers. Last year, obviously, he had that insane 2.5, 3-month run to start the season. 2 years ago, he was a very consistent 20 and 10 guy making 40% of his threes during his first All-Star season. He hasn't even been at that level for all of this year. He's played fine, but he's been up and down. And today was okay, 16 points on 15 shots, 8 assists, 4 turnovers. Like I said, he's getting off the ball a little too quick. He's just not like this masterful, efficient initiator in this game. And so when the best player is not on the Pacers, and in some cases with Josh Hart, maybe the best 2 players in this game were not on the Pacers, like it's hard for them to reach that level. So the zoom out basic lame answer is Tyrese Haliburton has to be much better, like closer to the star level player that he's shown he can be, that he has not been for much of the season, but they've just got to find consistency, right? Like Siakam's going to give him the same thing every night. And it feels like a lot of other guys this season have been pretty up and down, and they had a lot of ups during January, but right now they're hitting a lot of downs. I think they're at 6 straight games at 32% or worse from deep. Like they're just not playing well. And the All-Star break cures all. They play the Wizards tomorrow. Like maybe they'll look awesome there, but they're just not quite as consistent and don't have that same top gear. And a lot of that is the star play.
It's kind of weird. It feels like they were a team less than a year ago that was very much on the up and up, and now you watch them, it feels like they have a really hard ceiling. And I hope I'm wrong, but it's sort of weird how we kind of think about this team just a few months, after a few months have passed.
It's tricky with that because, like Haliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Toppin, Shepard, Walker, Mathurin are all in their first 5 seasons, right? Like clearly they have guys who can get better, but you wonder, if it's all the same system as last year, like what really is the growth path? Like, do you actually just need better players? Certainly you'd think so after they get throttled by the Knicks, right? Like to get to that next level of what your ceiling truly is, or is the ceiling of this team what they are now, right? Like the 4th best team in the East, and to be better, they need other talent, right? And so the hope with what they did this year was that the internal growth would make them better, and that hasn't happened. And that's why, a team with Jalen Brunson and Cat has been the 3rd best offense this year, and the Pacers haven't been. And Cat was by far the best player in this game. I feel bad that we spent so much time on the Pacers, but because Karl Towns was, sensational. Awesome. There's a reason he's an all-star starter. He can just all of a sudden be like, yeah, F you guys. Can score, can hit 11 twos and draw a bunch of fouls and get every rebound and actually play some decent defense. And I'm the best player. We win. Like, it was that simple for him.
5 assists, 3 steals, had a couple of crazy passes, a no-look one.
Yeah, what was that? Where did that come from?
He was great in this one. I've really enjoyed the Karl-Anthony Towns experience this season.
I'm happy for him.
He feels, me too. We should be happy for Kevin Durant. He became the 8th player ever to crack the 30,000 point club, but it came in a loss. Are the Suns just wasting these milestones? We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns loss against the Memphis Grizzlies after this here on Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that the decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. My favorite part? The free and hassle-free delivery. Even for larger items, Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, I found everything I needed in no time. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year home goals with endless inspiration for your space. So give your home and the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We'll be right back. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen of the day. Every game, every night. Best way to support the show. Subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. Tony, let's go to Phoenix, where the Grizzlies beat the Suns 119-112. This was a fun one. The Suns rallied from down 19 to make it close in the fourth quarter. Kevin Durant was sensational in this one. Finished with 34 points. And during this game, became the 8th player in NBA history to score 30,000 points in his career. But the Grizzlies were just the better team. Going back to Durant, though, we're going to touch on the Grizzlies and the Suns in this game, but let's talk about Durant here for a second. 8th player in the league, in league history for 30,000 points. He's joining the club with LeBron James, Kareem, Malone, Kobe, Michael Jordan, Dirk, and Wilt Chamberlain.
Not bad.
Not a bad group, huh? My only question is, he's 35, he'll be 36. Depending on how much longer he plays, there's a real case that he could end up getting into the top 5 of this group. Michael Jordan is 5th at 32,292 points. If Durant plays a few more years, he can get into that top 5. That would be pretty remarkable. But here's the craziest thing, Tony. I find it hard. It's going to be really tough for him to get even close to LeBron with 40,000 points. And these two guys were tied in their careers for so long. And we always thought of Kevin Durant as being the scorer, the pure scorer, the hooper. But LeBron James is probably going to have 5,000 more points than Kevin Durant when it's all said and done. At least that many more points than Kevin Durant. It's I know Kevin Durant had that one year where he missed a whole season, had a lot more injuries than LeBron. Maybe that's all it is. But it's just wild seeing his name on this list in the context of everything.
Wes, it's every kid's dream to get their 30,000th point by hitting a free throw to cut the lead to 11. Woohoo!
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm glad you brought that up because Kevin Durant goes to the free throw line. Everybody knew he was like 2 points away for a couple of minutes. He goes to the free throw line, hits the first one. Then the Grizzlies call a timeout. And I had it written down in my notes. I'm like, are they trying to ice KD here?
Come on, Taylor Jenkins, come on. Let history happen.
I thought that was pretty funny. I also scratched out that
I
note
only
as
have
soon as
that
KD
joke
hit the free
ready
throw.
because here in Indy, Peyton Manning set the single season touchdown record for passes on like the saddest little shuffle pass to Brandon Stokely. And everyone's like, that's it? That's how we got the 49 touchdown? I mean, it's insane, right? 30K points is nuts. And he did miss like a full season and a half, basically, in his career due to injury, which is part of why LeBron has pulled ahead. Spike. He can easily pull off a 2K point season. Like, he could catch MJ if he even has 2 60-game years left in him, right? If he keeps scoring at a pretty moderate level. Like, he's unbelievable. Like, I love when I get to hear about young players guarding Kevin Durant for the first time who are like, there's nothing I can do. Like, he just shoots over me and makes it. And he's done that for years. It's unreal.
Let's get to the Grizzlies part of this because they did win the game. John Morant was great, 26 points, 6 assists, 2 turnovers, and he went without any turnovers for quite a bit of this game until the fourth quarter, and then Memphis started turning it over, and that's a big reason why Phoenix got back into this game. Desmond Bane had 20 points. Jaren Jackson Jr., I thought, he could have had a better game, but there was moments where he looked like the best player on the floor, and it's been a huge Jaren Jackson Jr. year also. We were talking about Cat before. Big leap for Cat.
Yeah.
Big leap for Jaren Jackson Jr. But let's hear more from the Locked On Grizzlies.
The night where Kevin Durant reached the 30,000 point mark. Congratulations, KD. Here is a loss for your trouble. The Memphis Grizzlies pull out a good win in Phoenix. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and John Morant looked the part of a superstar in a game where Jaren Jackson Jr. did not dominate the way that it was expected that he would. Others picked up the slack, and that is the key for the Memphis Grizzlies moving forward. Marcus Smart, no longer a part of the Memphis Grizzlies. Now is the time for the guys that have been a part of the process to really find their footing. It's a night for Vince Williams Jr. It's a night for Santi Aldama. It's a night for Brandon Clark. Players that have been contributors long-term to this franchise, finding their footing heading into the All-Star break and beyond. A really good victory heading into Los Angeles before the All-Star break. Good win for the Grizz.
John Morant played like a star. What do you think?
Yeah, I like really want to call the Grizzlies like top tier contenders. Like I have all season. Their net ratings are so good. Their point differentials are awesome. Ja's amazing at his best. Like Jaren Jackson's, I don't know if you would agree with this, but like probably all NBA good so far, right? Like about at that level. Like they're nasty. It's just I wish they had a fourth like real good player. But that's what I like about what Joe just went through is like any night it can be so many guys like Jalen Wells in Sacramento or like, oh, look, Santi Aldama is great. Oh, Brandon Clark scored a bunch of points tonight. Gigi Jackson's back. Maybe he can start having some of those heaters from last season. Like Luke Kennard has games where he just hits 8 threes for some reason. Like they have all these players who are really good and helpful. And, you know, the year the Warriors won the title, I thought their hardest opponent that whole postseason was Memphis, right, in the playoffs. So I really want them to put it together and put them in that echelon. And even a game like this where Ja's great and the rest of their stars are kind of they can win on the road against a decent to good Suns team. So I really like what the Grizzlies are doing and where they're trending.
And to your point, I think Taylor Jenkins has a really good pulse of who the fifth guy is going to be in whatever matchup, right?
Yeah,
like
he played 11 comfortably today. That's tough.
He did, and it wasn't a Zach Edey night, so they start with Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr. The Suns come out with a jumbo lineup with Bol and Nick Richards, and every Suns fan was like, this is amazing. We're so happy. And Bol had an interesting game. I think Bol is one of these guys who's like, what he does well is really loud, and what he does really poorly kind of goes under the radar a little bit more. But Jenkins decided this was not going to be a Zach Edey game for whatever reason. Leans heavy into the Jaren Jackson lineups with either Santi Aldama or Brandon Clark next to him. And so I just think that he's got a good finger on the pulse of the lineups that are working on a game-to-game basis, which is not an easy thing to do. But let's hear more from the Locked On Suns side of this thing.
Phoenix Suns fall to the Memphis Grizzlies at home, 119-112. Benjamin Garcia locked on Phoenix Suns, and you know the drill. There's a lot of things to talk about. Well, the Phoenix Suns fall in their final home game before the All-Star break. Kevin Durant looked really good in this game. Devin Booker at times looked good. But the issue was, outside of one role player, and Bol played fairly effectively in this game, the team as a whole, offensively and defensively, did not give their stars enough to work with to be able to win these sorts of games. And so what happens is these young, athletic Grizzlies team that play with pace just tend to run these older Phoenix Suns teams off the floor. And that's a big issue for the Suns team. We started to see it over and over and over again, that young, athletic, fast-paced teams just outwork them. And that's why the Grizzlies are going home with the W, and the Suns are losing once again.
Wes, I have a question for the Phoenix Suns. If you're having trouble with young, athletic teams, maybe play your young, fast first-round pick who can play defense more than 4 minutes and 51 seconds. Why is Ryan Dunn playing 4 minutes and 51 seconds? Ty Washington played 13 minutes and Rant. Play Ryan Dunn.
Ty Washington was very aggressively bad in this game, too, to your point. Here's my problem with the Suns. They don't have any good lineups.
No.
They don't have a single reliable. Do you know how hard it is to employ Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and not have a single reliable lineup? It feels like you have to try to do that. They don't have a single good lineup, Tony. It's crazy.
What is the point of Tyus Jones for them? I never got this like Suns need a point guard thing. Like he takes the ball out of, I guess a little bit because they had a lot of turnover problems last year, but like takes the ball out of your star's hands. And then he's not defending very well because he's tiny. And so he kind of makes lineups hard. And then they have like a lot of players who are only good on one end of the floor. So they're boxing themselves in all the time, like trying to figure out how to get a cohesive five on the floor.
I kind of had the same thought today. I mean, Devin Booker has 9 assists and 2 turnovers. You know who also had 9 assists and 2 turnovers? Tyus Jones. So Devin Booker is a good passer playmaker when he wants to do that, and his scoring has been a little bit down this year compared to in previous years. And it's not been bad, but I had the same thought watching this game. I was like, we sure that we need Tyus Jones in the starting lineup?
He should
Are we
play.
sure we
He's
should
fine,
have benched
but,
Bradley
like,
Beal? The trade deadline's over. You're not trading him. Maybe move Beal back into the starting lineup, have Booker, Durant, Beal with Richards and, I don't know, Royce O'Neal or Ryan Dunn or whoever it's going to be.
I agree.
It feels like they need to come to some sort of reckoning with that. But that's the Phoenix Suns problem. They'll talk about that more on Locked On Suns. If you want to hear more about the Grizzlies rising up the standings, check out Joe over at Locked On Grizzlies. Both of those shows do a terrific job covering very important teams in the Western Conference. But coming up, what the heck was Joel Embiid thinking? Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by OpenPhone. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone. And before you know it, you're juggling customer calls day and night. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal phone number. That's where OpenPhone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and your personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or your computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and your action items the second you hang up. If you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. So right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA for 20% off 6 months. openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing number with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Let's get to our last couple of games from Tuesday night's slate. We're going to start in Philadelphia, where the Raptors beat the 76ers 106-103. Tony, this was a pretty entertaining game, even though it was weird and it felt like nobody played that well. Really weird ending to this. Down to 10 seconds left. Joel Embiid passes up a wide open, and I mean wide open three. Nobody closing out on him. Instead, opts to drive it into the paint. He turns the ball over promptly. The Sixers never get a chance to take the lead in the end. What do you think Joel Embiid was thinking there?
I don't know. I have no idea. And there were so many Raptors players on the spot he drove to. If he was going to like pull up from the elbow or something, maybe, but like he can't stop right now. That's like the biggest thing the injuries have taken away from him. He can't slow down.
He looked like
it was so bizarre.
When you were like playing Grand Theft Auto and you like went out of your way to hit the civilians on the sidewalk. That's what he did.
He really did. He really did. And they had like a lot go their way in the final minute. They forced a shot clock violation. Like they had chances that they didn't really deserve down by 2. And then just to completely throw that one away was so like, and they score 5 points in the last 6 minutes of this game. I should be faster at math than this. I mean, they had 97 points with 3 minutes to go. They had 96 points with 5 minutes to go, and they finished with 103 at home.
Yeah,
it's baffling how poor they're playing.
Embiid has been really bad, and I know that there's injuries and conditioning and things like that. But he goes like the box score numbers are good with him. They always are. They still are. 27 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, whatever. He was a +1 in this game on a night where he had 27 on a double-double night. And it's his defense that is a huge problem. Before he passed up that open three-pointer, he gave up a wide-open layup to Agbaji right under the basket, and he's not closing out. He's got no first step. It's if he turns his head, that's sort of his only basketball move defensively now. Like, he's just not getting back to the rim anymore. And so these backdoor cuts are there all the time, and you see every single team, when Joel Embiid is in the game and he's available, they just go, okay, bring him out a step because he just doesn't want to go all the way to the rim, because that means if he goes all the way deep into the rim, he's got to run all the way back. And so he's usually trying to hang out by the free throw line, and these backdoor cuts are just there all the time with him. And so he's giving up everything he has, everything that he scores offensively, he's giving it up on the defensive end. And that said, they still had a chance to win this game, and he gets completely in his head on that three-pointer. There was no reason for – he's been very hesitant basically in everything. But for him to hesitate on that pull-up three-pointer, that was crazy. That was I've never seen him do anything like that.
It would have been his first moment of the season, too, if he hit it. Like, he needs that real bad. Maxey sucked today. Like, they needed Joel Embiid to step up and do something, and he couldn't do it. And Wes, put a pin in this. I think the Raptors can catch the Sixers. I really think they can do it. If these teams and the Bulls have the same record in their last 10 for their next 20, they'll all hit 75 games and be like half a game apart. Like, it's possible that the now Brandon Ingram employing Raptors can actually do this. Like, they're playing kind of good right. The Sixers really needed this game.
Shout out to Brandon Ingram. He inked the extension today. Good for him. Let's hear from Locked On Raptors host Sean Woodley.
Even when you're tanking, wins like that are a good time. Sean Woodley here. Quick thoughts on the Raptors' 106-103 win over the Philadelphia 76ers, who are a joke, are very sad, almost too sad to laugh at, frankly. The Raptors, big one in this one. They were missing 3 starters. No RJ Barrett, no Brandon Ingram still, no Jakob Poeltl. A whole lot of rookies playing crunch time, including the youngest player in the NBA, Ulrich Shamshe, getting fourth quarter minutes as the 57th overall pick in the draft. The Raptors were trying to hand the Sixers this game on a platter with very young, children-led lineups, but Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickley were just too good to keep the Raptors down. Scotty Barnes, 33 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, very efficient. Quickly as well, 7 of 11 from the field, 4 of 8 from downtown, 23 points, 4 boards, 5 assists. One of their better games, maybe their best game together so far this season. They haven't played a lot of them together, but when it's cooking, those two guys, there's a connection there. You throw in Brandon Ingram, who just got extended today, RJ Barrett, Jakob Poeltl, and a whole bunch of young dudes making stuff happen on this team. I don't think it's going to be that long until these Raptors are actually considered pretty good.
See? They're like, here they come.
Here they come.
You know who's not coming, West? The Chicago Bulls.
No, let's get to our final game. This one was over quickly. Pistons beat the Bulls 132-92. Tony, they led 71-29 at halftime. Billy Donovan, the Bulls coach, asked after the game what happened. He just says, the coaching was bad. The playing was bad. Everything was bad. But hey, look, the Bulls wanted to start tanking. This is a good way to do it. I love this little bit here, too, because you know on NBA.com, they have like the game charts.
That's what I pulled up. It looks so funny.
I have it here for people watching on YouTube. It's wild. It looks just like a wave. It looks like a tsunami. It just looks like a Pistons wave here. Let's hear from
23-0 run in one quarter. What?
Pistons with a just demolition job of the Chicago Bulls. They moved to 2 games above 500. Host the Locked On Pistons podcast, Kukil here. I mean, the Pistons just completely obliterated the Chicago Bulls. Like, at one point, I thought they were going to beat them by 60 points. Like, it was horrible. In the second quarter, the Bulls went like 6-7 minutes without scoring a singular point. Like, it was horrible. The Pistons are playing some really good basketball. Obviously, the Bulls are tanking, but the Pistons are playing some really good basketball. Cade looked fine. Asar looked tremendous. He continues to play better and better and better each game. And not even just this game I really want to focus on. Pistons fans, let's think about a year ago. 28-game losing streak. Now you got 28 wins.
Yep.
You are 6th seed in the playoffs. Last year, worst team in franchise history. Just a year ago. Can't believe it.
Speaking of worst team in franchise history, your Chicago Bulls. Wow.
Wes, what do you think Monty Williams thinks of this game?
is he even watching? Or is he looking at Chicago and he's like, next paycheck?
He's too busy counting his stacks of cash to watch.
He's like,
I mean,
sorry,
the
I can't
Bulls
see the TV beyond this stack of hundreds.
The Bulls have lost 12 of 16 and are still in 10th. Someone take the 10th seed from the Bulls, please. No, I don't. I want to stop caring about the Bulls.
You don't have to care about the Bulls. The Bulls don't care about the Bulls.
But
Clearly,
they're in 10th. They're gonna play. At this rate, they might play a game that matters. Bulls Hawks, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. We got that to look forward to. That wraps up Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.